Paranormal Reddit Stories Part 2. Turn on the subtitles for the best experience. I think I'm living together with my dead great-grandma. First of all, I'm sorry for my grammar. English is not my first language. So it all started when I started hearing a scratching in the attic. My room is a converted room in the attic, but other than my room, the attic is old and quite uninhabitable. Some nights I've heard scraping on the walls from this old area. When I told my parents, we assumed that there were some animals living up there, so we installed a camera there. The camera filmed the walls to my room there all night long, but clearly there wasn't an animal. The funny thing was, however, that I still heard the scratching on those nights. I have a dog, and it's not uncommon for him to bark at some seemingly empty corner, but I didn't think much of it. Animals do weird things sometimes. He's also quite a timid dog, so I didn't see it as odd if he comes to me whimpering sometimes. I mean, he even gets scared of boxes. When I was talking to my mother the other day, she told me that her grandmother helped build this house and has lived in this house all her life. She died in the room I'm sleeping in now. I would really appreciate your opinion on this, or if anyone knows what I can do. Thank you. Decades ago, in my youth, I lived in a small town in India without modern amenities like smartphones, video games, or the internet. Entertainment back then was going to the cinema, a special treat for us kids. I vividly remember a particular night when I eagerly went to watch a re-released old black-and-white film in a theater called Vijaya Mahal. The cinema was on the eastern side of town, separated from our place by a major railway line. Although it was a late-night show, I managed to get permission from my family. After an exciting evening at the movies, the show ended around 1 a.m., and I made my way back home. Instead of taking the safe route through the manned railway gate, I decided to take a shortcut and cross the railway tracks directly. As I walked in the darkness, lost in my thoughts about the movie, I suddenly felt something soft at my feet. Unable to see clearly, I curiously reached down and found my hand grasping long, wet hair. Startled, I realized I was looking at a human head without a body nearby. Fear engulfed me, and I hurriedly moved away. With my senses heightened, I carefully made my way back, avoiding any mishaps, and managed to reach the other side of the railway line. Once there, I couldn't forget the eerie encounter. The next day, the local newspaper reported that a woman had committed suicide by jumping in front of a train. This haunting incident remained etched in my memory, and I couldn't share it with anyone for a long time. It took me a while to overcome the fear and to see darkness as just darkness again, without the haunting image of that night. I purchased an app to record myself as I slept. I got the app because I had heard that I was snoring loudly and that I was stopping breathing while I was sleeping. Sleep apnea. I would come home from work and turn the app on and listen to my previous night's sleep. One day after work, I was listening to myself snore from the previous night. While listening, I started to think about an old boss who had passed away. I really liked her and felt bad that she had died. On the app, I hear myself break from snoring and say, "Hi, Pat." That was the name of my old boss who had passed away, the one I was just thinking of. The coincidence that scared me to hell has happened around 5 years ago. I was working in a pretty decent hotel as a bartender, and part of our job description was to deliver room service to people or complimentary drinks/food that the reception asked us to deliver. One night I got an order to the 4th floor the reception. Now it is important that it was the 4th floor because that was the only floor in the hotel that had no windows to the outside in the end of the hallways, or anywhere for that matter. It was also the cheapest floor, and it was not renovated in years to a point that there were boot marks on the walls, ceiling, and patches of paint hanging from the ceiling as well. Other floors were well maintained. I don't know why that was the case. Anyway, on the end of each hallway, instead of a window, was a huge mirror almost the size of the entire hallway, which gave an illusion of an infinite corridor with the mirrors being on both sides of the hall. Halfway through the hallway in both directions were fire doors that were held by electromagnets from what I can tell. So there I go up to the 4th and to the end of the hallway where the room I needed to go to was. As I approached the room, I could hear people talking faintly because the door was open and light was spilling into the hallway. As I got closer, the talking stopped, and now I could only hear the static noise of a TV. I knocked on the open door and said, "Room service," but no one responded. I slowly walked into the room, knocking again. Got a few people scared a couple of times before, so I was being careful. But as I got inside, I realized the room was empty. At this point, I am creeped out by the empty room, static TV, and fourth floor in general. I quickly put the drinks on the table and left. As I was approaching the fire doors, the lights on the floor went out and the doors slammed shut on me just as I was about to go through them. The lights went out only in the hall because I could still see the light from the room and hear the TV static, which was getting louder and coming from all around. I felt adrenaline rush through my body as I ran down the stairs, didn't want to wait for the elevator, and ran straight outside for a smoke. The fourth floor always creeped me out, but since that time I found ways not to go up there at night any longer. The floor itself got renovated about a year later and it became way less creepy, but I still had a weird feeling when I got up there.